Welcome back, folks, to the WP-Tonic show. This is episode 377. We got a great special guest. We got Amanda Northcutt, joint founder of MemberUp, and we're going to be talking all things about retention connected to your membership site, an important subject. Amanda, would you like to quickly introduce yourself to the listeners and viewers?
Yeah, sure. I have been in the membership space for about 15 years, and I am right now kind of a revenue funnel strategist for membership sites and subscriptions, or people who are switching from a course to a membership, for instance. So I have a consultancy, and then we also have a little reporting tool, engagement reporting tool for membership sites using WordPress as well.
That's great. And I've got my great co-host with me, Cindy Nicholson. Cindy, would you like to introduce yourself to the new listeners and viewers?
Sure. Hi, everyone. It is Cindy Nicholson here from thecoursewhisperer.com, and I help entrepreneurs that want to create awesome online courses.
That's great. And before we go into the main part of the interview, folks, I'd like to mention one of our great sponsors, and that's Kinsta Hosting. And Kinsta is only a WordPress hosting provider. And what's special about Kinsta? Well, like I say, they only specialize in WordPress. They use the Google Cloud hosting framework to host all their sites on, so you get the best technology. Their interface and the options that they offer are superb, like one-click backup, staging site, latest version of PHP, and also their technical support is some of the best in the industry. Big enough to have all the technology, small enough to still care. If you're a consultant, got a membership site, e-commerce, and you're looking for quality hosting, I can't recommend Kinsta more. We host the WP-Tonic website on that, and we're being totally happy. So go to kinsta.com and find out some more. So, Amanda, retention and problems with it. A bit of a dirty word in the membership website industry, isn't it? It brings a tear to membership websites owners' face, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. So what can be done about it, Amanda?
That's a great question. That's a really complicated one to unpack. So churn reduction it's a huge theme on membership sites. We see that in our consultancy, and people they get to the point where they're losing more members than they're bringing on every month. And that's kind of the beginning of the end of a membership site. And so right now I've kind of been talking a lot about how setting expectations in your marketing really, really translates to long-term success or lack thereof. So for instance, if somebody sets the expectation really, really high to get you to buy something, you get really excited by the marketing, you make the purchase, and maybe it's a one-time purchase. If you get let down, maybe you ask for a refund. Most people don't, but it's a one-time purchase, so they can honestly kind of screw you over a little bit if they want to. And so, but with your membership or subscription-based marketing, you really have to set the expectation from the outset of what people can expect within your membership site. And then you want to not only meet those expectations, but exceed them. So we call that under-promising and over-delivering. So I think that's really kind of your foundation for your membership site, is understanding over time what your members do, who are your most successful, your brand evangelist, people who spend the most money with you. I call those power users. So you want to understand what those people really find to be the most important things about your site. What keeps them coming back time after time? What's the most important course or feature or live call, or is it your discussion forum or private Facebook group that keeps them coming back? And then you want to kind of reverse engineer your marketing from that, right? So if your marketing promotes the things that your power users like most about your membership or subscription, and you market those, you're going to attract those people who are most likely to become power users in the future. So you want to advertise the best things about your site according to your power users. And then you want to try and with your onboarding, your lead nurturing and then onboarding, try and get those new members to adopt that same feature adoption path that your power users took. So you want to show value immediately. So the key is kind of understanding, then reverse engineering your marketing and lead nurturing from there, and then taking new members on the path to become a power user. Does that make sense?
That certainly does. Cindy?
Yeah, so I think that's a really good perspective, is really, rather than you thinking about what they're going to like, really see what your users are already doing and kind of leverage the marketing around that. So that's, I think that's really crucial. So you talked a little bit about onboarding. So you've got, you've marketed to the people who are, that you hope to be your power users. They've signed up. What are some of the things that you can do in that onboarding experience to really kind of help solidify the relationship?
Yeah, that's a great question. So usually what happens when somebody gives over their email address in exchange for an asset, we call that a lead magnet, right? So top 10 tips on how to build your first hand-carved chair or something like that, okay? So somebody downloads your lead magnet in exchange for that asset. They're now on your email list. And we really, really advocate strongly for then kicking off a lead nurture sequence, not just putting them on your newsletter list to receive the occasional updates. You want to try and nurture them along toward a sale and make appropriate asks as time goes on through that lead nurture. And you want to promote those, say 5 to 7 top features or things that your power users have identified as most important. Okay. So you kind of paint a picture there in your lead nurture using foundational desires. So Seth Godin talks a lot about this. So you want to not tell them, you're going to love this feature and here's how it works. You're going to say, here's how I'm going to change your life, insert desired outcome for your members, and, talk to them about why they need that and kind of how your site brings them that foundational desire. Okay. So then hopefully your lead nurture sequence works and they purchase your membership. And then you have your onboarding sequence. And so that's typically a series of emails and maybe videos on your site to help someone adopt that feature path to become a power user. So your onboarding should really mirror your lead nurture sequence, right? Because you want a new member to recognize value as quickly as humanly possible. Just in that first email, you want to send them to your site, to the best thing about your site, right? Whether that's getting involved in your community or here's where to start. But really, again, taking that lead nurture sequence, mirroring it in your onboarding. And so now you're saying, okay, well, you're in now. You're behind the paywall. And so I told you why you needed these things and then I'm going to give them to you. And then your onboarding should just say, here's how to go get them. You're going to make, the lowest barrier to entry way for people to achieve what you promised over time. So you want to not overwhelm people. People are busy, so you need to have an understanding of your audience and what's appropriate as far as the amount of information you push at them. You really want to kind of like pull them through this feature adoption path, not push and overwhelm. So you want to, in your onboarding, have, a sequence of emails. Some people say 5 to 7 emails. I'm more of like a 11 to 15 over the course of the first 3 months. So first you want to go on feature adoption. You want to ask for feedback in each of those, or not in each of those. You want to make yourself easy to reach in each of your onboarding emails, right? So at the bottom, just say, hey, I'm a real person, hit reply. I'm here to help. So you want to have that personal element and kind of build that relationship. So it's really imperative then that you don't send your onboarding sequence from an email that you can't reply to. That's a big no-no. A welcome video is a really smart move too. I mean, a lot of people don't take full advantage of their thank you page. When somebody, clicks the buy button and puts in their credit card, use that page, that payment confirmation page with a video of yourself talking like, hey, thank you so much. You made a great decision here. You want to affirm the purchase and then tell them what the next steps are. So in the onboarding sequence, you're further solidifying the expectations that you set in the marketing. And then you're not only meeting the promises you made in the marketing, you're exceeding them, you're making it personal. You're trying to get them toward value recognition very quickly and into like a high engagement. Well, for member score, we would say a high engagement score. You want to see how people are interacting on your site. And beyond the onboarding, you have to know how engaged or disengaged your members are so you can send them appropriate messaging moving forward. Like you don't want to invite someone who's only been to your site twice in 3 months to purchase your annual membership, right? You want to probably kick off a re-engagement email sequence for them. So that was a very long answer to your short question, but does that?
Yeah, no, I think that it's funny because often people are talking about, membership sites as being the holy grail and, you just have money coming in month after month without having to do anything. But the key is that you have some sort of engagement, sequence or process to kind of help people be engaged. Just because they bought it doesn't mean they're going to continue to do it. So having that onboarding that you're talking about, having those series of emails, I think is really important. So thank you for that. Jonathan.
Yeah. So Amanda, getting the impression when, and maybe you can confirm this with your experience, or there's some figures out there. The key sign is that, so I get the feeling you're saying there's a lot of people that buy and then they don't really do much with, with the purchase, with the buying of the membership. And the more that you can get them engaged on a certain pathway which you have designed, the less churn you're going to get. So am I correct in what I surmise, that there's a lot of people that buy a membership package and then they do nothing with it?
Yeah, a lot of people do. It depends from site to site. Different membership sites have different expectations for levels of engagement. If you are running a hobbyist membership site for retirees, you might expect a much higher level engagement. And it's just a little bit more passive and not as urgent, for instance. So the answer to your question is definitely yes. And that happens most often because the membership sites that we see a lot of the time coming through our consultancy is that there's not that proper expectation setting from the marketing. There's not the feature adoption path and the onboarding and ongoing engagement tracking. So a huge barrier there is just getting systems in place and having kind of the business chops to put these things, to reverse engineer this sequence and then actually implement it to produce results. So yeah, that's a huge barrier that we see a lot of the time is.
And is price a factor, isn't this? As the more higher price courses, I would imagine that, the people that sign up for them are a bit more motivated and ask a lot more questions, or am I wrong? Am I not correct in that?
That's a good question. And again, it goes back to the type of membership. So who's paying the bill is a big one. So if you have a B2C membership site, people are going to have higher expectations typically. So people who are typically paying less have higher expectations. So if you have this one-to-one person, they're seeing the charge on their credit card every month, those sites actually tend to have higher expectations for like deliverables and value and results than, say, an employee whose employer is paying the bill. And so there's no skin off their back, so they're not paying the bill. So they're typically slightly less engaged than those individuals and don't have any skin in the game. They don't have stake in it. And so again, it really varies. We see it really, it's really disparate. It's across the board.
Let's do first. I think we're going to go for our break, folks. We'll come back. We're going to be delving more into this subject with Amanda Northcote, joint founder of Member Up. We'll be back in a few moments, folks. We're coming back. We've had a good discussion initially with Amanda Northcote. I'm sure the second half is going to be as the quality. Over to you, Cindy.
So as a membership expert, would you say that there's certain elements that a membership program should have? Like, are there elements that each membership, that when you're looking at it, that they should absolutely have as part of the membership? Can you kind of give us what your ideal structure would be?
Absolutely. That's a really great question. So I kind of preach on 8 different systems for membership sites. The first being marketing. And so the very short version of that is find your tribe. Where are they? And I'll actually offer you guys, your listeners, my ebook on membership marketing. You guys can grab a free copy, and it outlines kind of my top 21 marketing or acquisition channels really for membership sites this year, and kind of how to start testing those. But the idea here is to find 2 to 4 marketing channels that are viable for your membership. So that's, they're profitable and reliable. It's kind of how I define that viable marketing channel. So get your marketing right, get the right people on the bus. A famous football coach once said, right? And get the right people on the bus and then pull them through that feature adoption path. So we have marketing, and lead nurturing. Okay, make your promises. And then when they actually click the purchase button, make them happy that they did so. So you want to under promise and over deliver with marketing, lead nurturing, and then onboarding is kind of the third system. The fourth system that is absolutely imperative for a membership or a subscription that's different than, course sale is, or not necessarily, but if you're asking for repeated purchases within your course sales, then this is important. But otherwise, engagement tracking is huge. You really want to avoid as much churn as possible, right? And so that voluntary or engagement related churn is often able to be preempted by kicking off an appropriate re-engagement sequence to draw that person back into your site, because you owe it to them to deliver the value that you promise. So you want to do that. And then content creation is huge. Highly, highly important ongoing situation for a membership site, obviously. So you want to have a content calendar for what's happening in front of your paywall, and then also what's going on with your content marketing. So I like those to sort of mirror each other. Makes it really easy to strip out content that you're putting in front of your paying members for those you're hoping will become members. So having a content creation calendar, who's doing what, when, how. And then the next system, number 6, community management is huge. Having a thriving community is a huge differentiator between a course and a membership. So Mike Morrison with the membership guys, they are fantastic. They have a membership for membership site owners, which is sort of hilarious, but it's fantastic. He often says that people come for the content, but stay for the community. And that's so true. So if you can build a thriving community where people are building relationships, relying on each other, having a positive communal kind of experience, then that's a huge retention tactic. And then number 7, customer success, which is like a huge buzzword and has been for a few years now. Really, customer success, I think, again, begins with your marketing, but we're more specifically talking about leading them along that feature adoption path, ongoing engagement tracking even within that, and customer service also specifically. And then number 8 is just general management, KPI tracking. How are you taking care of your finances? How are you managing staff members or a VA and things like that? So those are kind of my 8 essentials for how to make this kind of business run really smoothly and profitably.
So what you're saying is you just can't set it and forget it?
Shocking. No, you cannot get people to just blindly continue to pay you.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, well, and I like how you outlined it all, because it's also more than just creating content every month, which is what kind of people get focused on. There's so many other elements that go into putting a membership together. Jonathan.
Yeah, Amanda, I get a lot of clients, and also a friend of mine, Chris Badger, of CEO of Lift at LMS, he agrees with me. Get a lot of people concentrate on the technology, either if they're using WordPress, what learning management system they're going to use, what membership plugin, or if they're going to use a fully SaaS solution. But they spend months and months researching the technology. I think they should really concentrate on their niche and building an audience. Is this a pattern that you observe a lot?
We do in system number 8, general management, tech stack also goes within there. But yeah, when people are starting their membership site, they really do agonize over this. And that's, the technical stuff and the business stuff. Like typically a membership site owner is a hobbyist, or they're an expert in something, and they're like, why am I doing my day job? I can teach other people how to do this and, make a lot of money, hopefully. But maybe that the technological skills and the business skills are not necessarily there already. So that has to come along. But yeah, there's so many options. It's really, really overwhelming at this point in the WordPress world. And again, I'm going to point back to the membership guys for that. If somebody wants one-on-one help, we've been helping a lot of people this past year switch from a course model or a coaching model to a membership. And so we're going through all the tech stack stuff with them. But if you're looking for a rundown or spreadsheet, the membership guys, they have a fantastic spreadsheet and kind of break that down really easily, and have a Facebook group as well, where that's a huge topic of discussion. But yeah, people do agonize over that and really delay their launch because they can't figure out their tech stack. But there are resources out there and people willing to help, and helpful Facebook groups and things like that. But yeah, that's your podcast is really helpful for that as well, obviously. But I think people just don't know where to find those resources. So it's hard.
Over to you, Cindy.
I want to actually dig in a little bit to because you mentioned it a couple times, people switching over from a course over to a membership. Mm-hmm. Can you kind of maybe talk about, because I get people when they come to me asking whether they should create a course, if they should create a membership site, and which should they do. So can you maybe walk us through, what are the considerations? When is something a course? When is it a membership? And when do they switch over if necessary?
Mm-hmm. So the businesses we've seen most successfully switch over from a course to a membership model are those who either are looking for the membership to sort of act as a top of funnel resource. So, get people to pay you $49 a month and then upsell them on your coaching services from there. So that's a really popular way to go, so long as the customer lifetime value within the membership exceeds that of the course. But if you have a membership model, you can upsell much more easily because you're interacting with these people within your community on a regular basis. So the community aspect, that's a huge one. I know a lot of courses, or a number of courses, have a community or private Facebook group or Slack group that goes along with a course cohort. And so there's a coach there helping people, but for self-service courses, that's kind of a one-off deal. And hopefully if you produce courses in the future, your previous customers will buy from you again. Kind of one litmus test that we take people through or ask people to ask themselves at the beginning of this kind of process is write a content calendar for the next 6 months or a year. Like, just let's start with a loose outline of, what you're going to do, when you're going to put that out, how that's going to be produced, who's going to help you, and then just kind of go through those 8 systems through a checklist of saying, how are you going to cover all of these things, and how does that look versus what's required of you with the course? So do you have enough content? Do you have the ongoing capability for marketing, for instance? Are you able to get these systems in place for marketing, lead nurturing, onboarding, engagement tracking, and things like that? Do you want to run a membership site? So helping people understand what's really required as far as content production, ongoing management, customer success, and community management, ongoing marketing efforts, as opposed to kind of creating that build up for a launch and then putting your course out there to the world and hoping that it's purchased. But the course model is still great. People make a lot of, people make a lot of money off of courses when done well. But there's just so much effort and build up and stress around course launch. And so, my one consulting client right now, they put out 8 courses in the last either 12 or 18 months, and they're just exhausted. They're so tired. And so, they're going to a membership launch model where they only open the doors twice per year. And then they're putting all their courses in the membership and then adding live Q&As, community, some other kind of membership type elements there. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, I guess it's partially what you want to do as a business owner. How does it fit in your business model? Plus, what's the content that you have? Is it something that is an ongoing, resource that people would want to have versus a one-off, information that they want to learn or something like that? Jonathan?
Yeah, I think another thing, Amanda, I kind of look at the startup world and also the e-commerce world, and I kind of, some of the models that they've learned the hard way, I think you can apply to membership sites. And one of those is in e-commerce is the ability for upsells. And I see a lot of people in membership sites not really utilize what's been learned in the startup and e-commerce that effectively. Would you agree on that?
Oh, yes. Yeah. And I think that comes back to having kind of some of those business skills are lacking. The ability to maximize the opportunity you've created for yourself is just, it's kind of an unknown. It's just kind of a lack of education thing. I think we're getting there as a whole and educating the membership community on multiple membership tiers. I mean, really simple, basic stuff like multiple tiers, upselling to an annual, private coaching, or a small group mastermind, something like that, or even one-off products. But yeah, that's definitely severely lacking. The vast majority of membership sites have one tier and just want to kind of set and forget. But yeah, that's not the way to maximize your revenue if that's what you're looking to do.
And I suppose it's kind of linked to when we first started this conversation about when you mentioned the power users, the champions, and modeling and finding out what they would really look when it comes to upsells, and then learning from that and applying it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, intercom.com, they're fantastic. That's a fantastic app. It's a bit complicated for membership sites, but they're so big on sending the right message to the right person at the right time. You know, not making a fool of yourself by, again, asking a disengaged person to upgrade to an annual plan, as opposed to sending them a re-engagement sequence and trying to get them back into your site, back into engagement. So yeah, you have to know who those people are and when they're becoming disengaged, and learn over time how to improve your site and your re-engagement sequence and things like that to preempt that, you know, kind of before it happens.
That's great. Well, we're coming to the end of the podcast part of the show. Amanda's been gracious and she's going to stay on for some bonus content, which you'll be able to see on the WP-Tonic website and the WP-Tonic YouTube channel. Amanda, how can people find out more about you, your words of wisdom, and more about Member Up?
Yeah, you can go to memberup.co. You can email me, amanda@memberup.co. And then obviously you're listening to this podcast, so you probably listen to others. You can find us over at the Member Score podcast. And if we can have a link in the show notes to my ebook on membership marketing, then people can grab that and I'll be in touch with you.
I'll definitely do that for you. Cindy, how can people find out more about you, your thoughts, and what you're up to?
Well, if you're looking to create an online course, I can certainly give you some help with that. You can find me at thecoursewhisperer.com or reach out to me on LinkedIn.
That's great. And we're doing a webinar ourselves, me and Cindy. We did our first one last month. It went great. We did make fools of ourselves, or Cindy definitely did make a fool of herself. I'm not sure about me, but I don't care. But we're doing another webinar, the 7 things you need to know to do that first course. Yes, that first course, that first step in your course and membership domination. But you got to do the first one. You know, if you don't start off, nothing's going to happen, is it? So we're going to do this webinar. It's free, and we're doing it at the end of this month on Thursday, the 28th at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. How do you join? Well, it's easy. You go to WP-Tonic backspace webinar, and there will be a sign up page. You just sign up and you'll be notified, and you'll be able to join us live, and we will have gifts and surprises for those that join us live. So you've got to do that. So hopefully you'll be able to join us on the 28th. So we'll see you next week, folks, where we're going to have another fantastic guest like Amanda, giving you insights how to build that great membership course website. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye. Right. So what's anything new that's come up in the past 6 months, or you see coming up in the next year, trends or something in the membership area that you think is going to be big in the near future, Amanda?
I hope it's engagement tracking, because that's what our app is. But no, seriously, I think that actually is kind of the next frontier for membership sites, is understanding what that is and how to do it and the importance of it. I mean, Harvard Business Review has published a couple studies on the impact of churn reduction, and yeah, I think that's just such a huge thing. It's such a rampant problem. So I think that's the next thing.
Yeah, funny enough, one of our other great sponsors and a friend of mine, WP Fusion, does a fantastic plugin that communicates with all the leading CRMs, and its whole purpose is enable a WordPress website to communicate with that CRM, especially around a membership site or a learning management system, and send out email to specific target audience segments in your membership members, you know, to do things that we've discussed. But you've got to get your mind around it, haven't you, Amanda?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, most membership plugins now also have some level of engagement tracking as well. And typically that just looks like, obviously LMSs have significantly more insight into course engagement, kind of piece by piece. But yeah, just how often people are logging in. If that's all you can get your hands on, then that's worth looking into and assessing. And I think the days of tracking engagement on spreadsheets are finally over. But that's been the only way.
Yeah.
That's been the only way. And lead scoring is another. You're talking about integrating with CRM. So lead scoring is also, I think that'll be a couple years before membership sites really latch on to that. But ActiveCampaign has great lead scoring now, and that feeds into engagement score. Obviously, that's just within email, but that's really, really useful information that you can use to shorten your sales cycle or kind of just maximize efficiency within your sales funnel. That's
great. Cindy?
So maybe, Amanda, you can tell us a little bit more about your engagement tracker and how it works, and what are some really neat features about it?
Cool. Yeah, it's a really, really simple tool. It's meant to be easy to understand, access, and act on. So it's memberscore.io, and it's just an engagement tracking tool for membership websites using WordPress. So people interact with your site or with your brand really in a number of different ways. So that's discussion forum participation, email engagement or lack thereof, and then the same thing with on-site engagement, like what and how often are people doing within your membership site. And so our tool takes those three main actions and assigns an engagement score to each of your members. It's a rolling score over time. And then we send an engagement report every week that shows kind of average engagement across your site and how that's changing over time. So you can see, if I do this, what does that do to engagement? So that's trying to help you kind of learn what you need to be doing more and less of on your site. And then also our tool just allows you to export a list of your newly engaged members and newly disengaged members. So it allows you to say, okay, I'm going to throw this list into ActiveCampaign or ConvertKit or Drip, and I'm going to kick off my re-engagement sequence to this group of people. And so we have re-engagement templates. You just kind of throw in your particulars and update on a monthly basis or even quarterly is sufficient. And then I'm going to watch those people and see if their engagement score changes over time. Like, am I actually able to bring those back into the membership or not? And then on the converse, that would be sending appropriate upsell offers to your newly most engaged members. So we're trying to help you maximize revenue both by increasing upsells and preempting churn. So that's kind of the gist, but it's meant to be just really unbelievably simple. It's inexpensive. It's about $1 a day. But just the lowest common denominator of what you need to know and the simplest way to act on it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's a great way to just get the data, right? Get an idea of what is going on rather than just putting your head in the sand and hoping things all change or turn around.
Yeah.
Jonathan.
Yes. So, Amanda, what's your position around if connected to people? Should they still really look at WordPress, or should they look at, some of the leading SaaS like Kajabi, Teachable? What's your position around that really? Or should they stay with the freedom and the power of WordPress, Amanda?
We're all about WordPress.
I stand by, Amanda.
You know the answer before you ask it. We're all about WordPress, and man, there's just so many customizations and things you can do with it. There's nothing lacking from the suite of WordPress tools at this point to run a really well done membership site. So we're all about recommending WordPress for sure.
So yeah, I'm so pleased you said that about but it's a difficult one. I do understand why people look at the hosted, the fully SaaS, but I view it very similar to when people are starting with e-commerce, because I actually don't recommend WooCommerce to somebody starting off in their e-commerce journey.
Mm-hmm.
I actually recommend Shopify, and I know I'm going to get loads of email in shock and horror, but I just think if you're really just testing the waters, testing, is there a demand for your product, it's really easy to just get a basic Shopify website up and running. but I say that WooCommerce is coming on, but if you start getting some traction, I wouldn't invest a lot of money. I would then go to WooCommerce and then build your own custom solution. Do you think I'm on the right track there?
I think I'm all about an MVP, so minimum viable product. So if you're going to fail fast. And if you're going to scale, you want to be able to have the right foundation in place to do so. But coming up with that MVP membership product, both from a technological and content standpoint, is really, really key. Coming in hot or coming out with all guns a-blazing, that's kind of, I'm from the South, so we say those kinds of things. But that's not a good way to start. You want to find out what is the MVP, under promise and over deliver, and then build over time and delight your customers or your members, rather than starting out with too much. Like, it's way easier to raise your price than it is to lower it, at least with your current members. And so, figure out the fastest path to MVP, fail fast, but also with consideration to, you want to have a strong foundation that is a scalable model later. So there's some tension there, but it's different for every person.
Yeah, it's true. Cindy?
Well, I think we can kind of end the conversation back to what we were initially talking about, which is kind of the churn, about the retention. So if somebody has a membership site right now and they're seeing that their unsubscribes are higher than their subscribes, what are say like 3 things that you would recommend that they look at to really stop that outflow?
Okay. Probably need to run a survey of current members. Like, that's the fastest path to answers. So sending out just a 1-question survey. Hey, would you mind hitting reply and just telling me XYZ? What are your favorite and least favorite things about the membership site? You won't hurt my feelings, just be honest. Or a quick survey if you're looking for an easier way to aggregate data, just SurveyMonkey or a tool like that. Where I would recommend maybe just 2 to 3 multiple choice questions, and then 1 open-ended question that people can actually type a reply. So figure out why churn is happening. Go in and look at your credit card cancellation or credit card failed payments. Your failed payments. If your failed payments are an enormous percentage of your churn, or even 1 or 2%, that's significant. You should probably look at a tool like ProfitWell's Retain or ChurnBuster to tackle your involuntary churn, so credit card churn. And then, so survey, tools. So that would be ChurnBuster or ProfitWell's Retain for involuntary churn, and then MemberScore for voluntary or engagement related churn. And then do an audit of your marketing and your lead nurture and onboarding. Are you promising things that you're not delivering? Like, where's the expectation mismatch? So find that, and find the off ramp, like where are people leaving, and always have an exit survey in place. That's a 4th thing, but that's an easy thing to implement when somebody cancels, to send a 1-question exit survey. And you're not ever going to get like statistically significant results with that, but that doesn't mean it won't, those replies won't unveil some helpful truths or information for you to kind of make improvements on.
Yeah, that's a really good idea to kind of have that exit survey. What is the reason? That way you're not guessing. You ask your audience, so you can find out the answers. Yeah. Jonathan.
Oh, thanks, Amanda. It's been a fascinating discussion. You have to come back on the show later on in the year. We've covered a lot of territory, haven't we, Amanda? And thank you so much for coming on the show. Like I say, folks, we have another great guest like Amanda, and we'll be delving in all their experience and knowledge and sharing it with you, listeners and viewers. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.